Guild. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Good. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to be here. I'm super excited.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Providence Improv Guild. I like that you call it P.I.G.
Yes.
And I love the shirt. I love the branding. It's so fun. So let's talk a little bit about this. You're a nonprofit.
Yes,
which
we are.
I had no idea.
Yeah, we actually just got our nonprofit status as of April 2015. So that was a huge move for us. It was a long, super long process, but we did it, and it makes it that much more of a reach, and now we can get grants, and now we can do more programming, so it's really awesome.
And you guys do a ton of programming. You hold workshops,
yes.
You have classes. So let's talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. Yeah, we do have live shows every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 o'clock. We also do a lot of workshops and performances, so places will hire us to come to them to do a show or to come to do a workshop. We also do this thing called standardized patient work, which is,
what's that?
Well, so it's role playing with med students, nurses, social work students, to sort of give them a chance to practice with an actor as opposed to a real person. So that way, if they mess up or if they have to do things a little better, they practice someone that doesn't really matter, isn't having problem XYZ. So that's another thing that we do, and it's a way for our artists to get work in the community. So, because being an actor, it's kind of hard to make ends meet.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of a notorious field for not a lot of pay, and it's a lot of like passion, and people always say like, oh, you can only do it as a hobby. And what we want to do as part of being a guild is get our performers and our artists out there and get them work. And that's one of the major things that we do, and we try to sort of band together so that we can say, hey, we have a whole variety of people that can come to you and do this work, and either whether it's teaching, performing, or doing this sort of simulated patient work, we do a little bit of everything.
I think that's so fascinating that how hard, I would never even think of that, how hard would that be to deliver, like you have cancer, or
exactly
you have, or something great, like it's a baby girl,
right,
you know,
right.
Like I mean, both sides of things.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of everything. Sometimes it's just like a sinus infection, and it's just sort of role play of like how to take history, and sometimes it's some really difficult news. And it's something that a few of us were doing on the side at the start, and we were hired as freelance actors. But then when we formed the guild, we were able to do more, and so now we have this contract with Rhode Island College, and we provide all of their standardized patients, and you know, and they pay us money, and it's great. So
yeah, and you get a paycheck.
Yeah, we get a paycheck, and the best thing about my job is being able to submit those check requests for my actors and be like, here is your money for doing thing that you are amazing at, and that you have all this training for, and before then you couldn't really make a lot of money doing improv, so it's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about improv itself, and just how it can really help regular people. You know, I think when I think about improv, I think, oh, funny, you know, but we'll get to that in a second. But I think it's really important. I think it's a good skill that people can use in life.
I completely agree. I mean, we definitely have people who are in this to be comedians, and they want to focus on the comedy, and that's one kind. And then there are folks who come in and they're like, I just want to be better at talking to other people, other humans.
Yeah.
Some people come in with some severe social anxieties, or they're on the Asperger's, on the autism spectrum, and they are able to practice these social interactions in a way that is fun. Because you're practicing it pretending to be like two ketchup bottles talking. So there's so much safety in it. So it's a way to just sort of get better at life. And I know for me, I used to be so shy, and I used to be so like not confident and kind of scared. And now that I've been doing improv for like 15 years, I feel like I can walk into any situation because I've role played almost every single kind. So it just gives you that sort of practice that you don't often get in real life, which is amazing, I think.
Like two ketchup bottles.
Right. Well, right. Yes, two ketchup bottles. Yeah, that's one.
I love that.
Often we're humans, but you know, sometimes we are, and it's also so fun, like to be like, oh, I've been a deer on stage. Like that's a thing I get to say.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I would ever get cast as in film, and that's one of the things. I mean, I think that you know, film work and is amazing, but I'm only this. This is it. Maybe some major makeup and special effects, but that's about it.
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Right. I could also be part dragon.
Yeah.
But in improv, I can be instant dragon, and there's something to be said for that. The freedom of saying like, yep, I'm a dragon now, and this is what it is, people. Here I am. You know, and that's so fun and inspiring. So it's very, very addicting, and I mean, I guess that's why I've been doing it for so long.
For quite some time. So when people come and you do these workshops, what's that like? What are some of the workshops that you have?
Well, sometimes it depends on the skill level. Sometimes they're sort of introductory and sort of get people's feet wet. And we do a lot of that. We do some corporate training work. So we'll go to a business and be like, this is just about communication. And it's fun. We're having fun. And at the end, people are like, oh, wow, I could really connect with people better.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So there's that. And then there's also some more advanced stuff. Like we have this one coming up called Premise Keepers, which is like a higher level of improv. And you have to have so much training to even get into that workshop. So we try to have a spectrum of offerings so that people can sort of like get a little taste if that's what they want and then go about their regular lives, or be really studying the craft and the art of improv.
And I would think when you get to a certain point, it can be really hard.
Yes.
It can be really hard. I mean, and you watch when people are good at improv, I mean, you think, how do you even think of that kind of stuff?
It is. It's hard when you first start off, and you know, the first couple years I was doing it, I was terrible. And you do it, and now at this point I have like thousands of shows under my belt. And so now I'm like, well, yeah, I know that I'm going to be pretty decent at the show, you know, but it's about practice and it's about confidence, and it's just about sort of being so in love with playing in front of other humans that you can't even think about doing anything else with your life.
So how can just a regular person maybe get better at either improv or just maybe walking into a room and having a regular conversation with someone?
Well, I would say obviously first step one, take classes at the Providence Improv Guild. So that right to the camera.
Yeah.
So that's obviously one of the first steps. Another thing too is I think integrating more yes and into your life. Yes and is a big improv principle. It's sort of saying to someone, yes, and then I'm going to build on it. I'm going to accept what you say and then add to it. And it's a way, if you try saying yes and instead of no or instead of yes but in your life.
But's a big one, yeah.
Yes, you go so much further. And you often too, eye contact. People forget that we communicate so much with our eyes. And in improv, there's so many things that you're just like, you're always looking at someone's eyes, you're checking in, you're reading their body language, you're trying to figure out what they're bringing to the stage so you can react to it. And we forget that you're going to do that in real life. You know, if you see someone walking down the street in a certain way, you're like, okay, I'm going to stay away from that person, but this person I can ask directions from, you know?
Yeah. And it's so much,
stuff.
and I mean, I have to do this for my job, but it's so much this now when you're walking
Yes.
places, right? It's so much this.
Absolutely.
Or just, I mean, even in certain settings, it's so much phone, computer. And I mean, I kind of have to do this for my job because I have to keep an eye on, like, my notes. And
we all do.
Yeah.
We all have to constantly disengage and go to screen time.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, you forget the art of that human interaction, and I think that's what improv is all about.
So you think yes and I've actually whose book was it? Wasn't Tina Fey's? It was someone else's book who did a lot of improv.
Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler.
Yes.
Yeah. She was
Great
saying
book.
that, and it was like yes and. So I was like, I know that sounds familiar, but yeah, to get better at improv, and I think just dealing with people.
Absolutely. If you can say yes to someone and then add to it and see where that idea goes, even if it starts off as a bad idea, if you yes and it enough, they'll realize it naturally that maybe the start wasn't so great, but maybe where you landed on was amazing. And I think you can't get that if you sort of say to someone, nope, not going to work. Because then they shut down and they don't want to connect with you. They don't want to bring their other idea. And no one brings an idea to you if they think it's bad. So they bring it to you because they see this kernel of good. And I think that yes and can help you connect with people to get that kernel out and then have more good ideas. So it's a lot about teamwork, and it's a lot about realizing that you're not alone in this world. No one exists in a vacuum, and you know it's a team theater sport. So I have my team, and I'm like, I love my team, and we hang out together, and it's kind of incredible to be like, yes, we're together in this world, and that's nice.
I love the fact that you said it's a team theater sport.
Mm-hmm.
I love that fact. So how do you get to be funny? Like, is it just like, you know, like how do you get to be good? I mean, so that we talked about just being a better person and communicator role, but how do you get to be funny? Like, how do you get to have that communication with someone? You know, to build off it. Is it kind of like when you play a team sport? Do you just have a good connection with someone?
There is a lot of that. There is a lot of
Chemistry.
practice. There's a lot of chemistry. There's a lot of just, even if you practice with other people and then you get with someone else, usually you can sort of naturally find that vibe a lot earlier. There's also comedy has a lot of sort of formulas in it, and there's a lot of rules that you can follow, like the rule of threes. If you start to study more comedy, more improv, you'll start to see the sort of the backbone structure, and you're like, oh, okay, I see where they're going to go next. And there's sort of rules in comedy that you kind of know how to make something funny. And also, like, poop jokes, right? Always winner.
Really?
Always winner. No, but yeah, like you just get used to it. And also too, like just being a part of the world, comedy changes and comedy evolves. Mm-hmm. So when you look back at comedy in the 60s or 70s, it's not funny now. Yeah. Right. But it's because you have to be current, you have to be engaged in the world, and comedy is like a living, breathing organism that we're all in, and so you have to be a part of it and reacting to it and reacting to life and what's going on. So I think to me, that's how you get funny, is just being present and awake.
And you think these skills really transfer into maybe the business world or into your 100%. Family life?
One of my side gigs, and is now part of the guild, is actually doing these corporate training things, and that's how I started, was actually training sales students at Bryan. And because it was completely applicable, you have to learn how to adapt, you have to learn how to negotiate, you have to learn how to connect with people and build rapport. So that's all improv. So I started there and then built this thing, and now I train all sorts of business folks and doctors and all these things. And it's one of those things that, because it can apply to anybody. If you interact with a person, you need improv training. So I guess if you're like a pathologist and you're like only it's you and your microscope, then cool, you probably don't need improv training. But I think if you talk to any other human beings, improv is for you.
Then it can help in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So what are some of the sketches that you run through? Like what's kind of some improv 101 that you would set up? If I like came into an improv class, you're like, all right, this is day one, let's run through it.
All right, well, I think first of all, we always just you start with a word. So you just get a word from the audience, and they're going to say something like potato. And then what's the first thing you think of when you think of potato?
Fries.
Fries, great. So you just got off a scene just by eating fries, and that's your first offer. Then the next person has a reaction to you eating fries. They're going to do something like, can I get one of those? Because that's a natural reaction. And then you're going to have a reaction to that. And it's all about reacting to what's happening. And if you bring truth, if your normal reaction is someone trying to steal your fries and slap their hand away, you're going to find some comedy. You see, like that, exactly. So
like,
it's a truthful thing. That's what it is. And you just connect and you just react how you would react. And then people are like, I know what that is. I recognize that behavior. That's funny to me. Most of the times comedy is just sort of saying, I would do that. That's funny.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We just
sort of like, oh, that's rude.
Exactly. And that sort of, it connects us, because comedy is a big connector, I think.
Okay, let's talk. I'm thinking of all these things in my head. Like, oh, I just kind of got nervous about that. Like, oh, what if I say the wrong thing?
There's no wrong.
I need to work on my improv.
Well, that's the thing. I think this thing with improv is that a lot of students. I don't think I've ever met a student that has ever not said, I'm afraid to do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. That's so common. The thing with improv is that there's not really any wrong. Because your scene partner is going to react to it. If you're French fries, I go to take one, you're like, have the whole thing.
Yeah, here you go.
That's the right reaction too. If your reaction is like, get away from me, that's the right reaction, because it's a genuine reaction. I think that the only wrong you could do in improv is, trying to hurt your partner or make your partner look bad. But yeah, that's the only wrong you can do in life.
That would be not very nice.
Exactly. So if you you react in real life, you're going to be good at it.
See, I would be nervous that I would do something that wouldn't be good enough for you to do the answer, and so I'm like, oh, I got nervous, but so I just need more practice.
You need more practice, and it's all about confidence. And I think too, like there's sort of a cycle of when you start off at improv, everyone's like, I'm good, I got this, and then they find out how much is behind the craft, and like, oh no, I can't do this. Like once you find out what you don't know, it's a lot harder. But then they practice more, and they're like, oh no, I can do this again, and they re-engage. I mean, we've been playing pretend since we were like 3 or 4 years old.
So true.
It's the same thing. Improv is just adults playing pretend on stage, and then people pay us money to watch us. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
And that's all it is. We're miming things, we're pouring drinks, and it's just playing pretend, but it's fun, and it reconnects you to what it is to be a human, I think.
I love it. All right, let's talk a little bit about your shows. You have a couple shows coming up.
Yes.
And it's super cheap and easy to come. $5 to come to a show.
There's no reason to not come. And we're always handing out these like free show cards too. Like, see, there you go.
All right, thanks. Great.
Show card. And it's $5. You're going to get an hour's worth of live entertainment. You're going to see people create art in front of you. And it's going to exist just that night, and it's never going to happen again. Amazing.
It's one of a kind.
One of a kind.
One of a kind.
Exactly.
So you have a show tonight.
Yes.
If you guys are interested, it's at 8 o'clock, $5. Seagull-related fish fight.
That's the house team I'm on. Yeah, that name was inspired by after our team first huddle brunch. we went outside and we're walking across the water near Providence on that South Water Street. And we look out and we see these two seagulls fighting over a dead fish. And we're like, there's our name, seagull-related fish fight. That's it. There it is.
That's awesome.
You know, yeah.
And then you have another one coming up tomorrow as well.
Fool's Pudding.
Fool's Pudding.
Yeah,
Perfect.
the other house team on Saturday nights.
Okay, and you guys are located at Southside Cultural Center.
Yes, that's right, 393 Broad Street. Free parking behind the building. No excuse not to come if you're a Providence person.
And then if you guys are interested in signing up, please do. It's easy, right?
Yep, we got a website, improvpig.com. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Insta. You can follow us on Snapchat. I'm not sure the verb for Snapchat.
You can Snapchat
You can Snapchat us? You can be a part of our Snap.
I think it's
follow.
I think it's follow.
I just aged myself. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
I have Snapchat, but then it's like you use it and then you don't use it.
Right.
I think it's follow.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally follow.
It's follow.
Yeah,
we nailed it.
Follow.
That was good.
Awesome. Melissa, so fun to speak with you. Thanks for filling us in on improv and helping me feel more confident in my improv skills. I'll work on it. All right, great. Thank you so much. And for more information on Providence Improv Guild, we'll have